All right, let me go ahead and copy this. Some of you are looking like, yo, man, how do you do that so quick without copy and pasting and right clicking? Gotta get you some hotkeys. Control A to highlight everything. Control C to copy and Control V to paste. Definitely saves you a lot of time. But anyways, okay, let's start out with the second class. And something to note is as soon as I start coding this class, all these red lines are gonna go away. This one and this one, because remember, these things do not exist to my program yet. My program's like, yo, what the heck are you talking about, dude? I don't know where these strings are going. I don't know what this freaking method get money all day is. It doesn't know any of that. So we are going to help it recognize that. All right. So we can go through some of the things that are required of class 2. We have 4 attributes in this class. We have 2 constructor methods. One constructor method assigns the cells target to our cookie cells target attribute. Our second constructor assigns a string to our attribute, another string to our attribute, and a cookie quantity. And then we have this arithmetic going on to update our cookie cells target attribute. And then we will have a dialog box that will display the details about the purchases. And then a method that will return the running balance of money in the cookie cells target. Okay, I hope some of you kind of had that light bulb go off where it's like, oh shit, we're gonna have, dang, sorry, I just cussed, my bad. But anyways, it's gonna be, excuse me for my language, but anyways, you're gonna have a, um, a dialog box, so you should automatically have import java x swing dot star. You should automatically think that whenever you see dialog box. Okay, so we're going to import that so that we can go ahead and activate dialog boxes, and then we will go ahead and start coding. Okay, so let's go ahead and take care of these 4 attributes. You guys should know that attributes are declared before any of your methods, and those attributes are listed for you in the quiz. So one thing to note, for the purposes of this class, every single attribute will be private unless otherwise instructed, and we're going to do private static double cookie target. Okay. Static always confused the crap out of me when I took the class. The best way that I can describe static to you is to think of static as something that is going to be shared throughout classes, and you want that thing that is static to stay updated. Okay, so in other words, the reason it is static here is because at some point I am going to send this attribute to my other class. Okay, and it's static because any changes that I make to this attribute in my cookies class, if I send it out to cookies quiz class, I want any of those changes going on in this class to stay updated here. So if I do cookie, if I add 1000 to cookie target somewhere in this class, and I send this and I'm sharing this to my main class, I want it to show that update of adding 1000. That's why I make it static. If I don't make it static, I can add 1000 in this class and share that attribute here, but it's never going to know that I added 1000 here because it's not static. It's going to be like, hey, I'm static. Someone did something here in this class. Hey, someone shared me. I'm static. anything that happens to me, no matter if it's in this class or the other class, I will stay up to date with any of those changes. If it is not static, it's going to be like, hey, someone added 1,000 over here. Someone's going to share me over here. I am not static. Any changes that happen to me in that class I came from, I'm going to have no idea whether I'm going to have no idea to show that to you because I am not static. So I am not going to stay up to date with any of the changes that are going on. Okay. And that is why it is static. Okay. Um, a big hint would have been a big hint to understand that it's static is when you're keeping a running balance and also knowing that you're going to return it somewhere. Okay. Those two things, me as a programmer and as someone that was taking quizzes last semester, anytime I saw running balance, anytime I saw returning some running balance, I was like, okay, yeah, more than likely that's going to be a static attribute. Okay. So, and I know, Knighton called it cookie target. I'm gonna call it cookie cells target just because that's what they refer to it. That's how they refer to it in the quiz, like when they're describing it to you. So I really want to stay consistent with that. Um, so cookie cells target. And then we have our other regular attributes, which is private string purchased by private string cookie type private int cookie type. Okay, and that's honestly how, whoa, cookie quantity. My bad, fam. All right, cookie quantity. And that is how you're going to go ahead and just list out attributes that they've given to you. Private data type name, private data type name, private data type name, private data type name. Okay. The only thing that'll change up every here and there is whether or not this attribute is going to be static. Okay. And like I said, hints of an attribute being static is when it is keeping a running sum or when it is going to be returned somewhere, and that is kind of some of the hints. Don't get that return confused with this here. Here we're not talking about an attribute, we're talking about a variable. You never declare variables as static variable. No, you just declare variables and then you go ahead and return them. In this case, we're talking about attributes, which are similar to variables, but different, way, way different, okay? But they're similar because, you know, they have data types, they have random names, but the thing that makes them different is they're private and they sometimes can be static because they're special kinds of variables. They're not regular variables that you declare within methods, okay? As you can see, these are being declared outside of methods. They are completely independent of methods. These belong to the class. This belongs to methods, doesn't belong to the class. All right, so we declare that, so we do our 4 attributes, boom, delete that. And it says we have 2 constructor methods. Okay, so let's just go ahead and, well, we'll keep that there. Our first constructor method assigns cells target to cookie cells target, which is one of our attributes. And like I said, I wanted to stay consistent, so cookie cells target, cookie cells target. So what do we know about constructor methods? What makes constructor methods special is that they have the same name as the class. Okay? So public cookies is an example of a constructor method. Okay? Now you're going to see where the connections and the code starts to make a little bit of sense. Okay? We are gonna call this cookie target. All right, you're gonna notice something. The red in my code is gone. Boom. Some of you are like, what? How did that happen? Well, okay, let's kind of do some backtracking here. We called this method, which performs the input dialog box, which prints out a line with the budget that a user is going to enter. It returns it, it assigns it to a variable, which is a double, and then here we say, hey, we want to create this object of the cookies class. We're going to call this object budget. We're going to create the new object, and we are going to pass that entered budget to a constructor method in my cookies class. So cookies is going to receive entered budget, which is a double. Cookies double, and we're going to receive that entered budget, but we're going to call it cookie target, which is a local variable name to the public cookies constructor method. Okay, so hopefully you guys can see that connection there. This is how we create the object. This is the method that is going to allow us to pass the information and assign it to attributes in this class so that the object is created with certain characteristics. Okay? All right. So some of you guys might be saying, why didn't we call this entered budget? Like, I could have called it that. And everything's fine. You can call it whatever you want. This is a local variable name. Okay? This is a local variable name. Could have called it money. Could have called it get money all day. Could have called it you got no money. You could have called it whatever you want. You know, I'm just staying consistent with whatever Knighton calls it. Okay, but as you can see, entered budget is a variable that is a double, which is holding the user input value, and we're going to send it here. But here, since we're receiving it, we're going to say, hey, there's going to be something that is coming, and it's going to be a data type double, and we're going to come up with some local variable name, and we're going to call it cookie target. Okay, and so this is going to allow you to receive that entered budget. Okay, so whenever you send it, you know, you're going to go to the cookies class, and then the cookies class is going to say, hey, go find this constructor, and boom, finds it right here. Okay, cool. So hopefully that makes sense to you guys. You know, if you have any questions, you can always ask me, because some of this stuff can be very dense and very, you know, has a lot of nuances to it. I don't even know if I'm using nuances correctly, but when I think of nuances, I just think of, like, you know, little things that aren't necessarily like very obvious, and they're like a, I don't want to say like a gray area, but you know, whatever. I'm going off on a tangent. Alrighty, so we create the constructor, and this constructor assigns the cells target to cookie cells target, the attribute. So then we go cookie cells target, my attribute is going to be set equal to whatever I receive as cookie target. Boom. Boom. We're going to receive that user input here. Then it's going to move down here, and we're going to say, hey man, my cookie cells target attribute, can you please set that equal to whatever I'm receiving up here? So here the user is going to, you know, here the user is going to enter 125, is going to be stored in here. We're going to return it, return that double, set it equal to this, pass it to this constructor, we're going to receive 125 here. Can you please set cookie cells target equal to 125? Boom. And that's all the first constructor wants you to do. Okay? The first constructor assigns cells target to the cookie cells target attribute, and you're done with that. All right? Public cookies. Oh wait, I'm sorry, getting ahead here. Second constructor assigns a string to our attribute purchased by. So the second constructor is going to assign a string to the attribute purchased by. This right here. And then it's going to assign a string to our attribute called cookie type. It's going to assign a string to this. Then it's going to assign a quantity to our attribute cookie quantity. Then we're going to assign something here. Okay? That is what our second constructor is going to do. So again, constructors are special because they have the class name. And look, you can do both ways. You can do public cookies, or you can do just cookies to write less code. All right, so if we think about it, we have this constructor here that sent the entered budget. And then we have a second constructor that is saying, hey, we're going to assign something to this. We're going to assign something to this. We're going to assign a string here, assign a string here, assign a number here. Well, if you think about it, what we did here is receive a double, assign it to a double. So we should get strings here and assign it to purchased by. Get here, assign it to cookie type, and get an int and assign it to cookie quantity. All right, I mentioned that I hate using the this method. Naming local variables the same thing as your attributes makes you use the this method. And it is extra coding, and it is confusing for people. So, again, I'm sorry if you like the this method, but I hate using it, and I'm going to use different names because I want to avoid using this. Boom. So, we have this. We have a constructor that's going to receive a string, and then a quantity. When I go to my first class, you are going to see that the strings, if you're going to see that the objects with the Jennifer Lawrence, the Brad Pitt, and the Madonna are not going to be read anymore. Boom. Gone. Why are they gone? Because again, now the program recognizes that, hey, that cookies class, thank you for creating that constructor that is going to receive a string, and an int. String, int. So boom, it's like, okay, now I know what I'm doing. Appreciate you. So then we created that constructor, and now we need to assign these things to our attributes. So then we can go ahead and say, all right, cool. Just like I assigned cookie target to the attribute that corresponds to the cookie cells target, well, I'm going to go to purchase by, and I'm going to say that purchase by is equal to the purchaser. And I'm going to say that cookie type is equal to the type, and that cookie quantity is equal to the quantity. And then boom, you are going to receive Jennifer Lawrence, Thin Mints, and 20, and it's going to say, hey, I'm receiving Jennifer Lawrence, I'm receiving Thin Mints, and I'm receiving 20. can you please set Jennifer Lawrence equal to the attribute? Can you please set Thin Mints equal to the attribute? Can you please assign 20 equal to the attribute cookie quantity? And don't know what happened there. And that's what happens there. Every time you create these objects, it's like, hey, go find that constructor, send all this good stuff there. Create this object, go ahead and send all this good stuff there. And same thing here, you know, create that object, go ahead and send all that stuff. And then it's going to go to the second class, be like, hey, found that constructor that does that thing, let's do it. Let's go ahead and assign all this stuff to where we need to do it, and boom. That is basically how you do that. And so here, you can go ahead and delete it. Second constructor assigns a string to our attribute purchase by. We're assigning the string purchaser to purchase by. Assigns a string to our attribute cookie type. String type assigned to cookie type, and assigns a quantity to our attribute quantity. So boom, we're getting a number. We're going to go ahead and assign it to cookie quantity, and that's it. Okay, cookie sales target equals, okay, so then it wants you to perform the arithmetic also in the second constructor method. Okay, let me delete that. And let's just go back to our paper. And where after it says the second constructor assigns the first string to purchase by, second string to cookie type, and third to cookie quantity passed to it, the cookie sales target is calculated by multiplying the quantity times the purchase price of $4 and subtracting that from the cookie sales target attribute. Okay. Alrighty, alright. Okay. So, like I've explained, we get that 125, we set it equal to entered budget, we pass that 125 to the cookies constructor, and we set that 125 to the sales target. This is where the static comes into play and where this equation comes into play. Okay. Let me go ahead and type this out properly so that we can move forward. All right. Okay. All right. So it tells you in the quiz that in the second constructor, you want to perform this arithmetic to keep the running total of cookie sales target. All right. So the way that you kind of figure this out is by understanding what your program is doing. First of all, just like I've explained many times, we get that input back, set it to the variable entered budget that we claim up here. We're going to pass that entered budget, which is representing 125. And whoa, I just pressed something. And we're going to pass it to this constructor. This constructor is going to set that 125 equal to the sales target. And now this static comes into play because when we perform this arithmetic, basically what it is saying is 125 equals 125 minus whatever cookie quantity is being passed at the moment, times it by 4, subtract it by 125, set it equal to whatever this is now. Okay, hopefully that makes some sense. So basically, let me comment this out for you. We're going to run through an example. Okay. By now, I sound like a freaking broken record because we should understand that here we passed 125. Cookie sells target equals 125. Okay? So we perform that here. The next step is to pass this piece of code. Okay? So then basically, when we pass that piece of code, when we pass this piece of code, it's going to be passed here because that's where it corresponds. And so then it's going to say, okay, string is going to be Jennifer Lawrence. So purchase by equals Jennifer Lawrence. Cookie type, I know I'm typing it a little bit off, but it's because I'm just kind of in a hurry. Cookie type equals Thin Mints. Quantity equals, okay, let me not be that lazy. Cookie quantity equals 20. Okay, and then we're gonna do 125 equals 125 minus 20 times 4, which translates to 125 equals 80. Wait, 80 minus 125 equals 100. Yeah, 80 minus 125 is 45. So then basically we go from 125 equals 125 minus 80. 125 minus 80 equals 45. If 125 equals 45, well then 45 is going to equal 45. All right, that is very confusing. I can see how that'll be confusing to people, okay? But basically what I'm trying to say is that 125 minus 80 will be 45, and then your attribute will be set equal to 45. All right? Because if you think about it, it's basically saying I equal myself minus whatever amount is being subtracted here. So think about that. I equal myself minus whatever amount is being subtracted from me. So that is where the 45 equals 45, because when you subtract 80 and when you subtract 80 from the 125, it's going to say, all right, cool, 45. I'm equal to 45 now. Oh shit, I'm equal to 45 now. So update me to 45. Okay, so that's how that works. That is how that arithmetic function works. Okay, you're gonna perform some arithmetic, subtract it from the attribute. You're going to perform that arithmetic, subtract it from the attribute. That attribute is equal to itself. So it'll update itself. That's where the static comes into play. Okay, it matters whenever you share it, and it also matters when you're setting it equal to itself in a class where you're going to start sharing it. Okay, so that is the arithmetic step right here. Okay, now the next step is we will have a dialog message box that will display the details about the purchases and the amount and the remaining balance. So basically saying there that we are going to have, make sure everything's okay in my first class, didn't mess anything up. Okay, cool. So this next part is actually creating the dialog boxes that pop up, with the really detailed information. So then we would do, obviously you would do a J option pane, since you want those dialog message boxes to show up. Show message dialog, no. And then you can start writing your message. But the thing is that as you can see, the messages keep changing, and they're in the same format, but they change with information. So the first dialog box is Jennifer Lawrence bought 20 Thin Mints. The second is Madonna bought 5 Samoas. The third is Brad Pitt bought 3 peanut butters. Okay, as you can see, you have to display the message dialog box with information that is changing. Some of you guys might think, what? I have to write 3 dialog J option boxes? No, you don't. What you can do is use the attributes instead and say purchase by, bought, cookie quantity, and then cookie quantity space cookie type for money sign, plus cookie quantity times 4, then plus period, the remaining target is money sign plus cookie cells. Let me do plus cookie cells target. All right. So some of you guys might be a little confused why we wrote it out this way, but if you think about it, just like I explained to you before, when you're creating these objects, it's doing it in a sequential fashion. So it's doing it, one by one when you run your program. And let's say we go ahead and do Jennifer Lawrence, right? So we do Jennifer Lawrence, it's going to come over here, and it's going to say purchase by equals Jennifer Lawrence. Sorry, I'm getting really lazy with the typing. Cookie type equals Thin Mints, I think. Yeah. And cookie quantity equals 20. All right. So it knows to assign these attributes with these values, right? And it'll be the same since you're doing this in a sequential order. It's very mechanical. It sends these things to this constructor, and then this constructor is going to be like, assign Jennifer Lawrence here, assign Thin Mints here, assign quantity here. Go ahead and run this arithmetic according to the quantity that Jennifer Lawrence ordered, and multiply by 4, subtract it from the 125, and update the 125 to whatever the arithmetic turns out to be. And since we're already here, go ahead and output me a message that says I was purchased by Jennifer Lawrence. She bought 20 cookies, space, she bought Thin Mints, and she bought them for the amount of this arithmetic operation, okay? And then we're going to concatenate the remaining sentence, the last sentence, which says the remaining target is money sign, the attribute which holds the most up-to-date cookie sales target. Because here we perform the arithmetic and we say, hey, Jennifer Lawrence bought 20, and that subtracts 80 from the cookie sales target, so then that means I am now 45. Print out the most recent cookie sales target. You know, the remaining target is 45. Okay, so that's how that works. Okay, feel free to rewind this back and explain it to yourself and rewind it, but that is how it's working. It'll do the same thing for Madonna. You know, you get Madonna, set it equal to purchase by, you get Samoas is the cookie type, you get 5 is the quantity, 5 times 4 is 20, subtract that from 45, because 45 is our most up-to-date after doing Jennifer Lawrence. So 20 minus 45 minus 20 will be 25. So then we'll go ahead and print out a message box that says Madonna bought 5 Samoas for $20. The remaining target is now 25. And that is how you're going to keep repeating that process, since Java is very sequential and very mechanical in that fashion. Okay, so we went ahead and took care of the dialog box. We are done with that. And the last step is one other method will return the running balance of money in cookie sales target. So right there, it is going to take care of the part, this one, okay? Because if you think about it, this last sentence, I'm sorry, this message dialog box, which you call up here, you call the method, you call this method to be ran in your main method. And it says it here. After ordering the above items, the target remaining for Girl Scout cookies is whatever amount of money. But the whatever amount of money is actually in our second class. Okay? Because as you can see, we were running through these objects. And we were subtracting and we were updating this cookie sales target amount. So after creating these objects, you're gonna end up with a cookie sales target that's gonna be accurate to what is remaining in the target itself. Okay? And so then, since this is gonna hold that sales target, it's calling it here, like it's saying, hey, give me that remaining target, but it's in my second class. So I need to call that class cookies dot, and I need to get this, oh Jesus, I need to stop doing that. Get money. I need to call this, okay? So that is what we're going to create. And so then we would go ahead and do public static double get money remaining in target. And some of you guys might be saying, okay, why is this static? Why are these not static? Okay. First of all, constructor methods will never be static. Never when I took the course would they be static. Don't even waste time thinking about that. Okay. Constructor methods will not be static. And like I said, you can write constructor methods public cookies, or you can just write the class name and then go ahead and write your parameters. Okay. So the reason this method is static is because you are sending back a static method. You're sending back a static attribute. You're about to return a static attribute. And in order for that static attribute to be returned, Well, you need to make this method static so that it can stay up to date with any changes, because if you don't make it static, you'll see that it gives you an issue. Or not. But when you compile, it probably should give you a problem. Okay, see, yeah, there is an issue there. Sorry. So the issue isn't necessarily the issue isn't necessarily oh wow. Here. It's going to be here when it tries to call it. Okay? But if I do this, it's gone. Okay. The reason it does that is because okay, you are dealing with a static attribute. You're trying to send it back over here, and it needs to stay up to date. So just like this needs to stay up to date by being static, so does the method, because it's dealing with something that is static. Okay? And so when I don't make this static, here it's okay. It's like, hey, I'm dealing with a static attribute. That's fine. But here, it's going to be giving you an issue because it's going to be like, what? I'm receiving something that's static, but the method itself isn't static. So I don't I don't know what's going on here. Like, how am I going to receive something that's static and then the method that's sending it to me isn't static? That means that there's going to be a miscommunication there with staying up to date. See, cannot make a static reference to the non-static method. Get money remaining in target from the type cookies. Change get money remaining in target to static. So I'm just reading this here. You know, it's telling you, hey, you need to make this method static because you're making a reference to something which is static. Okay, so, you know, reading those comments in your program are really helpful. Um, so yeah, now that we got that down, because here it was the only part that we were missing, um, we're good to compile. So that this last little details what we were missing, you know, class 1, it was telling you, hey, in this output line, you're gonna have to get that remaining balance. Well, we just took care of that right here, okay? And that is it. So we can go ahead and compile. Oh, compile, compile. Why is it not compiling? I don't have any errors. I know that for sure. Oh, there we go. Whoa. I don't know why I printed out Ferrari. Probably have to save everything. It's saved. It's compiling right now. Oh no, this is not good. Hold on, guys. We're having some technical difficulties, but we should be fine. Okay, here we go. All right, my computer is really slow, so it might be taking a minute for these dialog boxes to show up. Where you at? Come on. That is what you do for this quiz. You know, like I was saying before, we were messing around with those dialog boxes. Make sure that that's static. That method is static because you're referencing something which is static, and boom, there we go. Okay, enter the budget amount, 125.00. Jennifer Lawrence bought 20 Thin Mints for $80. The remaining target is 4. Target is 25. Brad Pitt bought 3 peanut butter for $12. I know some of you are probably noticing this thing right here. There's no space. After ordering the above items, the target remaining for Girl Scout cookies is $13. I can fix that. So 4 and we're good. All right, so this was quiz 1. Oh, this was a quiz for Knighton. This is one of the quiz 1 practices. Hope this was helpful for you guys. You know, I know I can be very detailed when I break down the code. I can be very redundant, but I do it because that's what helped me learn it, is those redundancies and really repeating things to myself and breaking down the mechanics of how the code is being passed around. So again, appreciate you guys for watching this video. You know, see you in the next video. Hope this helped a lot.